of witnesses for this hearing.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, I will yield, sir.
I assume you're referring to what is written about Candace Owens, where it says she's a director of communications at the conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA and a conservative commentator and political activist known for her criticism of Black Lives Matters and of the Democratic Party. I don't think she could quarrel with the accuracy of that. It's a simple statement of who she is.
Reclaiming my time. What I will say about this is you never, ever see anybody characterized in any other list of witnesses. This is the first time I've ever seen that, other than the stating what they represent or the group that they are from. This is seemingly anyway, going beyond the bounds of what is the norm. That is an indication to me of how easy it is to demonstrate animus. So it means for a logical question of Ms. Owens, which she's already addressed to some respect, is as you talk, Ms. Owens, and you go to universities, like you're going to go to UConn tonight, do you receive hate speech directed at you?
All the time, and I really do feel that the media on the left has made it okay. And I do just want to add that my biography, which I submitted, you reduced it to one sentence, calling me just a conservative activist, and it wasn't what I said or what I submitted to your office last night. And I just think that you opened with anti-black bias, and I see it coming from the chairman today.
And Ms. Owens, these efforts to shut you down when you speak publicly on issues that you care about under the protection of the First Amendment, are they peaceful?
No, they're really scary. They threaten us online perpetually. I receive threatening letters to my home when the media drums up narratives and pretends that I hate black people or that I hate gays or that I hate Muslims with no evidence supporting any of those claims. What they're inviting is for people to think it's okay to be violent towards me when they see me. They want to make it an act of virtue for people to be violent towards black conservatives that are outspoken.
And there are, on occasion, false accusations and staged hate crimes. What impact do those have on actual, real hate crimes?
It makes it harder, I think, for people to come forward or for people to believe it. I don't see enough condemning of what Jussie Smollett did to this nation in terms of tearing us apart and causing a debate. And obviously the left was quick to believe him and put him on a platform despite absolutely no evidence. And it just makes it harder. Again, it just makes it harder for us to come together as a nation, which I think is what the president is trying to do, bring everybody together.
And Ms. Owens, are you familiar with the case of Isabella Chow, who is a UC Berkeley senator who was harassed because of a position she took?
I'm not.
Well, Ms. Chow took a position of basically abstaining from a vote due to religious concerns and was harassed out of her position, and she was hate speech galore, all arising and going forward. So it isn't that there isn't hate speech. It's that we need to condemn all hate speach.
That's correct. I definitely agree. We need to condemn all hate speech. There's only one type of hate speech like that they like to talk about and give a platform to. There is a double standard in this country, and that double standard, I think, is being felt the most by black conservatives, the Jewish community, and Christians.
And so, Mr. Klein, thank you, Ms. Owens. Mr. Klein, you remember the chairman agreeing to give you an extra 30 seconds because of the interruption that you experienced during your opening statement. And then do you remember being gavelled down by the chairman once you began speaking of the anti-Semitic remarks by a member of Congress? And we've just timed this. You only got 12 seconds. I have 30 seconds left, and so I'm going to give you those 30 seconds that you were promised and were denied.
Well, I am deeply pained that after a congresswoman from Minnesota called Israel evil, hypnotized the world, Israel's an apartheid state, Jews used their money to promote what they want out of Congress, that this woman was defended by leaders of her party, defended by at least 3 members of her party who were running for president, with no consequence. She should have been removed from all of her committees just the way Stephen King was for this unbelievable outburst of hatred toward Jewish people. In fact, there's actually a member of this very committee who publicly called Jews termites of this committee, and there was no consequence to that outrageous statement. So this is really frightening to me, especially as a child of Holocaust survivors. If you're not If there's not consequences of this type of hate speech against Jews, you're only going to get more of it. We're only going to embolden people to continue this, and ultimately, hate speech turns into physical violence. That's been true throughout Jewish history, and that really frightens me.
Is there anything you'd like to respond to what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Acting Chairman Jay Paul and your comment about the Trump administration moving money around for more detention beds. I'd like to remind you, under the Obama administration, we did that most of the years he was president. We moved money around DHS. It's called reprogramming. We did that under the Obama administration. I don't remember any hearings on that. And also, I'd like to remind you that under the Obama administration, I mean, you're quick to point out that the cages were built under Obama administration. I was there. Family detention, we had 100 family beds under Obama administration. We built 3,000 more. So when there was a surge in FY14 and FY15 on the border, Congress was quick to give all the money we needed to build detention facilities, get transportation contracts. We reprogrammed money out of the majority of the years he was president. That was fine. Under Obama administration, FY12, we removed 409,000 people, half of what was removed last year. There was no hearings on that. So, this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Since you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
well, be honest with the American people. You can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened under the Obama administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Homan, I control the time, and I am the chairwoman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Homan, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's Priorities Enforcement Program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well, can I respond to that?
Can
I respond to that?
No.
Of course not.
And I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 5 minutes.
We are here at the hearing on the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and the essential ingredient we seem to be missing is the Manhattan District Attorney, which I guess, Mr. Roy, would be a lot like going to the Salt Lick Barbecue and not getting the moist brisket. Now, to Mr. Jordan's credit, great credit, he sent a letter to Mr. Bragg on May 31st inviting him to come participate, and we got sort of a nasty gram back from Mr. from Mr. Bragg on June 7th. Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the June 7th response from AG Bragg.
Objection.
And I'm sorry, DA Bragg. And in this letter, I'm going to quote from it, Ms. Foley. Bragg says, "This office is committed to voluntary cooperation." Do you believe that?
No.
The letter continues, "That cooperation includes making the district attorney available to provide testimony on behalf of the office at an agreed upon date." Do you believe that?
I'll believe it when I see it.
It goes on to say that they're evaluating the propriety of allowing an assistant district attorney to testify publicly about the matter. Now, that assistant district attorney is the one who downstreamed from DOJ, right? So you think they're going to provide Mr. Colangelo here to answer our questions?
I would not expect Mr. Colangelo to show up.
And do you base that opinion on the lawsuit that Alvin Bragg filed against Jim Jordan in his official capacity in the Committee on the Judiciary?
I saw some of that, yeah. I mean, look, you have a legitimate legislative purpose to be inquiring as to what you're doing, so they have no leg to stand on.
But they're not going to come because we ask. And they're not going to come because they say so. And we learned that by observing our dear friends at the Oversight Committee. Because this will surprise a lot of Americans. After hearing the enthusiasm around oversight of the Biden crime family, we never sent a subpoena to Hunter Biden to give live testimony before Congress. Let that sink in. The Republican House majority has never subpoenaed Hunter Biden for live testimony in public. We've never done it. And I worry that, we're going about the same kind of process here, and we may end up there in July, right after sentencing, with an empty Alvin Bragg nameplate and an empty Matthew Colangelo nameplate. And then we'll start the process again on letters and subpoenas and accommodation. And I've just grown tired of it. And I think you're right, Ms. Foley, that this is all professional wrestling. There's no real effort to bring these people to bear. So,
will the gentleman yield for a question?
One second, I got a motion. Mr. Chairman, I move under Committee Rule 4 and Clause 2M of House Rule 11 to require the attendance and testimony of Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo on July 12th to discuss their involvement in the Trump prosecution, including their office's coordination with the Department of Justice.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, ranking members recognized.
It's a little absurd because Mr. Bragg and Mr. Colangelo have already agreed to appear before the committee on July 12th. We have a letter to that effect, so there's no point requiring them to do what they've already said they're going to do. The committee asked them to appear. They asked them to appear today. They made the point that they did, or Mr. Bragg, I should say, made the point that he didn't think he should appear before the sentencing on July 11th, but he'd be available thereafter. And he's agreed to come on July 12th.
Mr. Chairman, this debate's out of order.
You made a motion. It's not out of order.
No, you have to seek recognition pursuant to debate on the motion. You can't just inject.
I recognize you.
I'm still on my time. I'm still controlling 2 additional minutes of time.
You'll get your time, man.
I have a letter here. No, my point is simple. The committee requested them to appear, Mr. Bragg and Mr. Colangelo. They've agreed to appear. They plan to appear on July 12th. I don't know what this debate is about. I yield back. Oh, and I'd like unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record a report from Fox News headlined.
Without objection.
I object pending consideration of my motion.
Hang on, I want to deal with.
Let me finish.
I want to deal with Mr. Gates' motion. Then we'll take your unanimous consent. Mr. Bragg and Mr. Colangelo have agreed to come on the 12th. If they don't show up on the 12th, they will be subpoenaed. So I would ask the gentleman if he could withdraw the motion. They're coming. We worked hard over the weekend to make sure they're coming. And if they change their mind, they will get a subpoena from the committee requiring them, compelling them to be here. And then if they choose to go to court on that, I think we'll beat them in court like we did the first time when we got Mr. Pomerantz to come testify in front of the, somebody deposed in front of the committee.
Time then becomes determinative. The problem is if we're going to bring these people in, let's go. I've made a motion to subpoena these people now pursuant to the rules, and I want to vote on my motion, or I want someone to move to table it.
You made the motion to subpoena them for the 12th?
I moved under Committee Rule 4, Clause 2M of House Rule 11 to require the attendance.
I move to table the...
That's fine.
I second that.
It's not debatable.
Gentleman's made a motion. The motion to table is not debatable. Those in favor of...
This is crazy.